New at 5, Western Maryland communities ravaged by floods in May are faced with rebuilding without help from FEMA. Just last week, towns in Allegheny County learned their requests for federal disaster funding has been denied, and now they are scrambling to figure out where they go from here. We've got team coverage of this story, and we start with my co-anchor, Lorenzo Hall. Zoe, I know you just emerged from an exclusive interview with Governor Wes Moore. He has got to be upset that FEMA is not going to help these towns rebuild, at least as of right now.
Yeah, that's right, Les. I spoke with Governor Moore shortly after 3:30 today. In full transparency to our viewers at home, the governor wanted to talk to us about this issue. So clearly he has a lot to get off his chest. He tells me he is furious and accused President Trump of playing politics after the Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA, denied the state's request for any disaster assistance following those devastating storms there in Western Maryland back in mid-May. So again, you're talking about more than 2 months now without a dime from the federal government. How can you forget these images right here? Those floodwaters just overwhelming the town of Westernport there in Allegheny County. Hundreds of students were evacuated from their school. People had to flee their homes and businesses just to get to higher ground there. Now, the governor says, get this, after a joint assessment done by both the state and FEMA, they determined the cost of damage is more than $15 million, exceeding FEMA's threshold for any assistance. So Governor Moore says he's not sure why the state was denied, but does say he knows President Trump's motives are clear.
Never before has a Maryland governor put in a request for disaster relief and been turned down by the federal government until now. And it's not lost on me that not a single state that did not vote for Donald Trump got any support. And so I told the administration, I think this decision was petty. I think this decision was partisan. And I think this decision was punishing. That they were punishing states that did not vote for Donald Trump. And it just so happens that the day before Maryland was denied, West Virginia was issued over $10 million in support for a storm that had comparable damage. And so this is the thing that's frustrating. It's not even just the denial, it's the disrespect. And what the president needs to understand is the people of Allegheny and Garrett County, that's a jurisdiction that voted for the president, and he's leaving them behind.
What do you say to critics who would argue that the state of Maryland should be able to pick up this tab, to pay the more than $15 million to help these counties in Western Maryland recover?
I'd say there is no jurisdiction in the country who has the resources to take on all emergency disaster relief. There is no state in the country that does that. Our balance sheets aren't built that way.
What do you say to President Trump if he's watching this right now?
I say to President Trump, you know, you can't be a president for all people when you only see half of them. You know, when I got in, I was very clear that when we say leave no one behind, we mean no one. And that the people in Allegheny and Garrett County, that, you know, I was talking with some of the residents there, and they're like, you know, this was a county that, you know, didn't vote for you. And I said, yeah, but you were Marylanders, and I'm your governor too. And we are on the ground because these are Marylanders. And when they need help, they need to know that their governor is there for them. And right now, they need to know that their president is there for them too. And frankly, our president has been MIA.
Now the governor goes on to say in that rejection letter from FEMA, they said that the aid was, quote, not warranted. Now I have reached out to FEMA and the White House. I'm still waiting to hear back.